Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. So this video here will be a review of Netflix's Dark, the new series. And wow, what an amazing show. This is like a real mind fuck. It really screws with your head. If you don't know, it's basically about time travel. So it involves three generations of families. From the main story takes place in the modern times, and then it takes place also in 1986, and the third storyline is in 1953. But the main two stories take place in the main two timelines take place in the 80s and in modern times. This one is really well done. They usually, with time travel stories, the logic is kind of screwy and it gets all weird and funky, but for the Dark TV series, which is a German production by the way, they really did their homework on the logic, and everything really fits in seamlessly, like when they go back and forth and how you can alter different timelines. Normally with other shows, like the Terminator series for example, it gets like really weird, and it's like, okay, they just kind of like whatever, they just kind of did that because to make the story seem better. But here it seems like they really thought everything out and made sure that everything, like when you go back in time, that it matches, and that really impressed me with this story. Well, the writing is amazing, and then also the directing and editing is really well done, because when you go to the past, you'll see that like the characters were younger, and obviously they're going to be played by a younger actor. So it's, for most people, it would be really hard to tell. It's like, okay, who's this person again? Who's this name? Because like I said, it's in German, so it's hard. If you're not familiar with the name, you will be getting kind of confused. But the way they did it in here in this series is they use a lot of cuts in like a split screen images to show like here's the younger version of this person, and here's like the older version, so okay, these two people are the same people. Yeah, and they did a really good job with that. It's in German. The bad thing about it is you don't want to watch the English dub because it's horrible. I mean, I guess if you don't like watching subtitle shows, English dub is fine, but I would urge viewers to watch it in the subtitle with the German language. I mean, that's the best experience, because like it takes place in Germany, and so you want to have the authentic feel rather than some actor in English saying like the locations and names, and then the accents would be weird, would be American accent. Just, I don't know, the English dubbing is like horrible. It reminds me of like really cheap dubbed Japanese animation, which for me it destroyed the story by watching the English version. So yeah, the you gotta watch the German version. That is the best one, and the acting is great for all the actors. Like I said, the cinematography and the directing and the editing was amazing. Since it's a time traveling story, they would have to just tell the story non-linearly, and the way they edit it together is like really done well. I think it's a show you would still have to watch at least twice. You have to think about it because it is like really a smart. I did binge the story, but I wouldn't think it's binge worthy, because you would have to like watch it in smaller chunks so you can digest the story. I did binge it, but what I did was like repeated the scenes over to understand, like, wait a second, what just happened here? Because you have to like get the logic of the whole time traveling aspect, how everything gets screwed up because of that. And another thing that's really great about the story is the music. Since it does take place in three different generations, the music, they had to get the music perfect basically, and especially with the how they go back in the 80s, for example. This kind of, people were comparing to Stranger Things, because the main plot is about children missing, similar to Stranger Things, and then one of the generations again here takes place in the 80s. So, but it's different than Stranger Things because, like the title suggests, it's called Dark, so it's a lot more dark. There's no comedy at all basically, so it's like you have to be in the mood to watch something like that. Some of the music were like English 80s music, but most of them were German, and like I said, that the whole atmosphere of the sound effects and the music really gets you in the mood, and especially like hearing like the old 80s German music with the German music from the 50s, which is, you can see like the huge difference from the 50s to the 80s. You know, after rock and, well, these people, they didn't, I guess most of them didn't listen to rock like in America probably. So I don't know. So somebody let me know if they're from Germany and they knew like in the 50s if they listened to rock and roll. Yeah, they were just they mostly listened to this traditional German music. So that was like a huge change, and it really gets you into the mood. And just the whole series is, it really gets you in. It's really immersive. It really immerses you in the location and the time that where the story's taking place. And yeah, just wow, this is an amazing story. I think it's one of the best seasons, first seasons of a show I've ever seen. Like, I mean, this is one of the top. And especially if you're into science fiction, I would call this like real hard science fiction. It doesn't really take place in any like futuristic stuff, but just because of the time traveling aspect, the theme of the story, it really gets into what hard science fiction is about. It's about like using technology to showcase real life themes. Like, the main theme of this is, do human beings have choice, or are they predestined? For example, like one of the parts of the story is the fact that if you do something, you have a choice. Do you have a choice? Like, if you do something, like you say you travel in time, if you do something, well, that thing that you do, did you have a choice in doing that, or were you predestined to do that? It's kind of hard to talk about it without going to spoilers, so I'm going into the spoilers right now. Okay, ready? Okay, spoiler times. One of the main characters, his name is Jonas Conwald. It's like really trippy because like I said, the story is about a child getting missing, and basically what happened to him, there's this weird thing with a nuclear power plant in their neighborhood, and it somehow caused like a rupture in time or something. So the kid was transported back to the 80s, and his name was Mikkel I forgot his last name. It's actually Mikkel something else. Anyways, he got stuck in the 80s, and eventually he became the father of one of the characters in the modern times, and so he was adopted, and he changed his name to Michael Conwald. Anyways, the son of him kind of figure out what was going on with that time traveling thing, because his future self gave him information. His older self from the future gave him information on how there's like a cave system in their forest, and that's tied to the nuclear power plant, and that's how it's tied to the time travel. Anyway, so he gave him the information how to go to the past. He travels the past, and he sees the young kid Mikkel, and he wanted to rescue him, but then his older self was there. Like, it gets really confusing. I mean, it's not really good for binge watching unless you watch the scenes multiple times, like what I did. Anyways, he wanted to rescue the young kid, and then his older self was there too. He said, wait a second, you don't want to do this, because if you take Mikkel back to the future, then your whole existence will be gone, because he'll never meet the girl, he'll never meet your mother, and they'll never have you. So you're just erasing your whole existence. Now, going back to the choice thing, is that, did he really have a choice? Will he, or is it like no matter what, the universe predetermines that these sequence of events will always happen? Like, he never really had the choice to take himself back, or did he? See, so that's like the whole story goes into that whole like philosophical discussion, which is, I really love shows and books, TV series, movies with a deeper meaning into it. Another one which is related is the fact that, for example, if you had the chance to go back in time and to kill Hitler, would you do it? And most people say, yeah, of course I would. But what if it happens if you go back in time to kill Hitler, but Hitler was a kid? Would you do it? See, then there's the things like, okay, would I or wouldn't I? I mean, he's just a kid. He hasn't done anything bad yet. And in fact, that was a major part of the story here. Like, the father of Mikkel, the real father of Mikkel, in the modern times, he was able to go into the caves and travel back in time too. But he went into the 50s. Anyway, so he saw basically one of the suspected kidnapper was actually, he's just a pawn in a bigger scheme. Anyways, he saw the kid that was like the kidnapper. He tracked him down and tackled him, and then because he knew that if he kills this kid, his son would never be missing, would never be kidnapped. So he tackled him, and then he took a rock and was like, oh no, it's like, is he really gonna do this? And he raises the rock and he hesitates for a second, and then he smacks the kid in the head several times. Like, oh wow, like they actually did this on the show. I can't believe it. And you're thinking, okay, this guy, his father is so distraught of missing his kid that he would attempt to murder another child who became the kidnapper later on, that kidnapped his kid in the future. And it goes in that whole philosophical debate of would you do something like that? I mean, this guy, he's a good guy. He was a cop, and he was a loving family man. So he had the chance to erase the kidnapping of his kid, and he tried to do it. He tried to kill this kid that was innocent at the time, but he became a kidnapper later on. Yeah, the story is like in here. It's like really cool. I mean, I would urge everybody to watch it, especially if you like science fiction and or just like really well told stories. Another thing I didn't mention was the plot. The main plot is actually of another character who's the mastermind. We don't know. He's trying to, like the other guy I told you about, the kid. Anyways, he manipulates different people to help him with his quest to do something, the timeline, to affect all three timelines. I don't know what they didn't show what his major goal is to be, but he's basically like playing everybody through the different generations to create something. I don't know what he wants to do. Maybe create like his ultimate utopia, or because the thing is, I forgot to mention earlier that there's this pattern that's supposed to be, I don't know if this is real now or just made for the stories, that some universal pattern where 33 is like a special number in the universe. So the three different timelines here happen to be 33 years apart. And another theme of this story is the universe resets itself every 33 years. So that goes into the whole, the different 33 year generation. I don't know what this evil character, his name is Noah, and he dresses as a priest, what his plan is to do, but maybe, I don't know, he wants to break that loop or something, so we don't know. I also want to compare it to Lost. Now with Lost, the cool thing why people watched it was because of all the mysteries going on. It's like, oh, what's this thing going with the polar bear? What's this black smoke monster? But the thing that Lost failed to do was, all that stuff really didn't make any. There was no reason for it. They just made it up, and they didn't have a true a logical outcome of all those cool little mysteries they had. Now with this story, Dark, they did resolve a lot. They have all these cool little mysteries throughout the episode, and by the end of season 1, they did resolve many of the things. You figure out, okay, that's why this happens, and this is why this other thing happens. Now, of course, the main plot, they're not going to give it away because, it's a TV show, and they have to wait for the rest of the seasons. But they did logically play out a lot of the little clues that you find out, and it pays off in the end. So I thought that was really good, and a good counterpoint to how Lost didn't do so well with that aspect. Check it out. I mean, it's one of the best shows I've ever seen. That's it for my video review this week, and stay tuned for next week. Make sure to like and subscribe. Bye.